Welcome, gentlemen. All right, welcome to another Bloodhound workshop here. And there we go. So let me finish taking a look to see who's in the room. And I do believe I recognize, actually, no, there's one name here I'm not quite sure about. So, all right, yeah, before we get started here, let me just double check here to see if there's anybody new in these workshops here today. All right, so if there's anybody new here, my question is, would you like to hear the workshop introduction? All right, so the workshop introduction is I'll explain what we do in these workshops and what we do not do. And also I'll explain how the recordings work. So that way, if you do ask a question, you'll know when you can see when you can get a copy of the recording. And then lastly, last thing is if you have a question about using a custom indicator, which actually today's first question that was emailed in actually is using a custom indicator. But anyways, I'll explain which indicators I can install into my machine here if you do have a question about using a custom indicator there. Okay. So if anybody would like to hear the workshop introduction, and wouldn't you know it? Sorry about that. Yeah, my phone is supposed to automatically go into do not disturb during these workshops, but I don't know. Seems like some updates might have messed around with that. Sorry about that. Let's see here. So where was I? Oh, yeah. So if anybody would like to hear that workshop introduction there, just let me know so I can get that out of the way first. And while I'm giving everybody a little opportunity, some time to get back to me on the workshop introduction, I do see there's a couple of questions or comments here in the workshop. Yeah, so good morning, Charles. All right, good to see you again. And let's see what Farrell has here. All right, so something about the Quant VPS. Licensing. All right, yeah, so Farrell, yeah, let me kind of do the beginning part of the workshop introduction here for everybody. All right, so in these workshops here, these workshops here are for software training, purposes only here. So we help, so I'm here to help you take a trading conditions, right? Basically, AKA, a trading idea, and convert those trading ideas or trading conditions into Bloodhound. So you know how to, what solvers do you use? How do you put the logic together? Do you need an OR node or an AND node, things of that nature? So, so in these workshops, I do not give trading advice. Actually, none of us at Shark Indicators gives any trading advice. Like, for example, I used to get a lot of questions when Shark Indicators, first came about, like, what's the best indicator to use to identify the trend? Those type of questions, we leave those to the trading coaches. So we're not trading coaches at Shark Indicators. We are a software company, so just as NinjaTrader doesn't provide trading advice, we think of ourselves as an extension there. All right. And so one of the other things that I don't do in this workshop is I don't provide tech support. All right. I can't do that. There's nothing I can do about your licensing issues in this workshop. I can't snap my fingers, and make it work. There's no simple answer. So the only thing you can do, when you need tech support is to email support, as you've already done there, Farrell. And so Mike will get back to you as soon as he can, or Keith might get back to you. Actually, I think Keith already did get back to you once before on that issue, as I was scanning through the emails this morning, I kind of took a look at yours real quick, so I don't recall the exact details there. But yeah, basically, there's nothing I can do in these workshops for licensing issues or anything like that. So, or any other kind of tech support. Like if for some reason you think Bloodhound's crashing your NinjaTrader, again, I can't help you with that. And that's not what these workshops are for. So, yeah. So sorry about that, Farrell, but yeah, I guess there is one tip I would suggest. I think the quickest and cleanest way to get through this is email Quant VPS and ask them to reset your VPS, and they can do that. Right? It's kind of like reinstalling Windows, right? They basically just wipe your VPS and just I can't think of the correct term. There we go. I just thought of it. They will re-image your VPS, and that way you start clean from scratch. Kind of like, same thing as if NinjaTrader support tells you, delete your NinjaTrader folder and just reinstall everything fresh, or reinstall Windows fresh. Same thing. So just ask Quant VPS to re-image your VPS, and that'll start you off from scratch, everything clean again, and you're good to go. So, and obviously, if you do already have some files on there, you might want to make a copy of your NinjaTrader workspaces and your templates directory. Make a copy of your NinjaTrader workspace directory and templates directory. And then you'll just need to reinstall any kind of custom indicators you have again. And it's best to just do that from scratch. Don't try and copy any custom indicators out of the bin custom directory. That's just messy to do. It's better just to use NinjaTrader's, import process, or use whatever vendor's installer that they might have, kind of like how the Shark Indicators has a dedicated installer. We don't use Ninja's import process. So just reinstall everything fresh again. So yeah, that's going to be the quickest way to get through it. So, okay. So again, Barrel support will get back to you. And I guess something else I can mention, all of us NinjaTrader vendors, we are, relatively small companies, so we don't have 24-hour support. We operate during business hours. So somebody will get back to you. Sometime this morning, I would expect. So, all right. Let's see here. So I don't see any takers on the workshop introduction. All right. Well, let's dive into the first question there. Let's see here. All right. So a screenshot was sent in to help illustrate what the question is about. Thank goodness, because honestly, I didn't understand what was wanted by when the how the question was written down in the email. I didn't quite understand what was being asked for, and it wasn't until I drew these vertical lines here. I had an assumption of what was wanted, but I wasn't quite sure until I drew these vertical lines. And then I could see, right, that the question involves when the bars reverse directions, right? So we can see here we had an up bar, so the RSI moved up, and then we have a down bar which pushes the RSI down. And what's wanted, where these arrows are, is where the RSI crosses the previous swing point there, or pivot point, whatever you want to call it there. So I've learned to call them swing points there. So yeah, so when the RSI, reverses direction and crosses a prior swing point, of the RSI there within the first bar. So it has to be the first bar. So when after price reverses direction there. So here we can see, right, we have a down bar and then we have an up bar. And so this up bar caused the RSI to cross that previous swing high, right, of the RSI there. Again, arrow. And we can see there's a bunch of arrows in here. And if we look at price, right, we have an up bar, down bar, up bar, down bar, up bar, up bar, down bar, up bar, right, a bunch of consolidation, right, flip-flopping back and forth there. And here we can see the RSI is doing the same thing, right? It's only a 2-period RSI. So, right, so I have a push up and it crosses the prior swing high, right, and then price moves down and then price moves back up. Actually, we have 2 bars here. So we can see on the first bar, on this first up bar here that pushes the RSI up, it crosses that pivot high. Yeah, that pivot high there, that swing high on the first bar there. So there's our arrow. And then, yeah, and then we get the flip-flopping again, right? Down, up, down, up, down, up. And we have a bunch of crossing of all those swing highs and swing lows there, right? So that's it. Pretty simple. So after price reverses direction, if the RSI crosses a prior swing low or swing high, then generate a signal there. All right. Now, one thing to note here, again, this is an RSI 2-period, and you'll notice, right, all of these swing high and low points are coming from the smart breakpoints there. So the smart breakpoints is a premium paid indicator from Indicator Smart there. So from Rob Mitchell over at Indicator Smart. So that is a paid for indicator. So I won't install that on my machine there. So I had to do a substitution here for that. And also, just to mention, I'm not sure if all of these, swing lines are available as a plot. If I recall, these lines are not plots. They're drawing objects. So I don't think you can access any of these lines here from within Bloodhound, or if you're using, NinjaTrader's strategy builder. Yeah, the strategy builder there, right? Because those are not plot lines. I think they're drawing lines there. So that kind of presents another possible roadblock to actually using the smart breakpoints. But again, I don't have this indicator, so I don't know for sure, what's going on. So instead, I'm using the swing highs and lows indicator to track these swing highs and swing lows of the RSI there. All right, so now if we look at the chart here, so I already have it kind of set up here. So here's the RSI 2-period, and you can see I do have the swing lines on there. All right, there's one set, and then I also have another set here. So let's open up these indicators here. All right. And sometimes, actually, let me take the dots off. There we go. So sometimes you'll notice that we do actually have access to 2 swing points at a time. So we can see we have this swing low, right? We have that red low, and then we have the prior swing low, right? That one is extended out, right? And the way I was able to do that is, let's open up our indicators. Yeah, the way I was able to do that is I have 2 swing highs and lows indicators on here. All right. Now, obviously, I'm feeding the RSI. I'm feeding the RSI into the swing highs and lows. That's how they're plotting on the RSI indicator. And as far as the settings here, you'll notice the first one I have set to number of swings to 2. And then the second one, I have it set to number of swings 4. So number of swings 4. So what that does is so as far as the widest bottoms, right, or the swing lows, that's going to track the lowest low of the last 2 lows here. So for example, we can see, right, we have this swing low and we have the darker red line, right? So number 4 here, using the fire brick, and the 2 number swings 2, right? That one's just using a brighter orange red there. So when we look at this, right, swing low, right? This is the lowest swing low out of these 2 swing lows here. So that should tell you that the indicator is tracking the lowest low of the last 2 swing lows. And at the same time, it's tracking the highest high of the last 2 swing highs. Right? So number of swings includes highs and lows. So it's tracking 2 swing lows and 2 swing highs, which total up to 4, right? 2 plus 2 is 4. So if we look back here, right, we have this swing high, and then we have a lower high, right? And that's the brighter green line. So this darker one, right, is tracking the highest high of these last 2. But then we make a higher low. So this is the highest high of the last 2 swing highs there. So anyway, so just incrementing the number of swings there allows you to track more swing lows there. So if I added a third swing highs and lows indicator and set the number of swings to 6, then sometimes I could track like the last 3 swing lows and the last 3 swing highs there. Like for example, right here, see these swing lows? So if I had it set to 6, it would be tracking this one as the lowest low of the last 3 lows, right? Because these lows step higher. So the swing highs and lows set to 2 would be tracking, right, the higher low point. The one set to 4 number of swings would be tracking, right, the medium one. And then if I had that third one set to 6, that would be tracking that lowest low for even further out there. So, but I'm just going to keep it kind of simple here. Actually, I don't think I even really needed these. I don't think I needed 2 swing highs and lows. I could have demonstrated what was wanted with just 1 there. But what the heck? I thought it'd be fun to go ahead and add 2 on there. So, all right. So that's the indicator set up there. So let's cancel that. And now let's actually start building what's wanted here. So let's open up Bloodhound. And the first thing we'll do is set up today's file name there. So that way we're not saving to an empty template. All right, so let's go to the main menu tab, click save, and put in today's workshop date, which is 19th. Yeah. There. All right, click save. There we go. Now we have a file name that all of our work gets saved to there. So, well, the easiest part, of this question here is we only want to identify when the RSI crosses a swing point on the first bar after a reversal. right? The bar after a reversal there. So how do we identify when, price reverses direction, right? That's a inflection point. So we're going to use the inflection solver there. Pull that over, connect it up, and let's give this a name. There. All right. So the input is not going to be an indicator, but we want to look at price. So let's switch that over to price, and we just, right, and how do you know when the bars are reversing direction, right? It's the closing price of the bar. So there we go. So here we can see, right, when price is reversing direction all over the place today. That's the NQ for you, which is good. So that'll provide us lots of examples here to build this system out and get it set up correctly. So that's the first condition. And now the second requirement is that crossover, right? So let's grab a crossover solver. We'll connect this up. And let's see here. Let's give this a name. All right, so we're looking for when the RSI 2 period crosses over the RSI. And this is a 2 period as well. Swing point there. All right, so input A is just the RSI line. So let's open up our indicators here. And let's see, you do a search here. There we go. All right, so set it to a 2 period, and we're using an RSI line that's already selected, so we're good to go there. All right, so now we need to for input B, we need to implement, right, the swing highs and lows the same way we do here on the chart here. All right, so just go to input B, open up our indicator window there, and again, let's see here. Yeah, so we're looking at the swing highs and lows, right? When the RSI crosses, right, the swing lines there of the swing highs and lows. So we're going to add that down. And again, we have to change all the settings so it matches exactly what's on the chart. Right, so here's another thing, right? The swing strength is knocked down to 1. That way you get all of these quick little reversal points there. All right. And then what are we looking to cross? So if the RSI crosses down of a swing low, right, that'll produce a short. And then if it crosses up of a green line, right, or the widest tops, that'll be a long signal. So now we need to feed the RSI into the swing highs and lows. So let's do a little search for the RSI. There it is. So this time we're going to do a single click, one click only. So highlight it and then click the Nest Input button. So there we go. There's the RSI being fed into the swing highs and lows. Now for the RSI, we do need to change the period, right? Again, to match what's on the chart. And we are using the actual RSI line that's already selected. Now, for some reason, if you're using the average line, right, then you need to select that if that's what you wanted to use, but not in this question. So let's put it back, click OK. All right, so there are a bunch of crossovers, right? So here we go. The RSI line crosses that, right, that swing low. There we go. Then let's see, another one, RSI moves down, crosses that swing low, right? Another one, then RSI jets up, crosses that swing high, right? So there we go. Now, the only thing left to do is we need to combine these indicators or these conditions together with an AND node. So connect that in, and there we have it. So let's see if we actually have any. Yeah, I'm not so sure really. Today's markets are so volatile. All right, yeah, so I think that swing low actually got filtered out. Although this, let's see, no, here we go, this one. So this would have been the swing highs and lows that uses a 4 number of swings. Yeah, so we don't actually have that. Yeah, so I don't think we're actually going to see any filtering here. Let's see, yeah, both of those ended. Yeah. Ah, here we go. Okay, here's an example. So here is our first up bar. And it wasn't until we got to the second up bar that we actually got the crossover of that swing high there. Yeah. So actually, it might be more helpful here. I think if we change our plot from a line to a dot. Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, yeah. I'm just going to add another RSI on here. So there we go. There. All right. So now we can see the actual point at which the RSI terminated. Yeah. So there's the first up bar. And so it was the second up bar that crossed that high. And so there's no long signal there. Yeah. Since it was on the second up bar there. So there we go. All right. So now if, to try and get closer to, what the smart breakpoints, indicator is showing us with all of these, high points and low points there, to get closer to that, all right, because you don't quite know how far back of a swing point you might have to go, right, for that crossover there. So we have the solver for, let's see if I could find it. There we go. So we can see the brighter red line there, right? So now what if we wanted to, reach back to the darker red line, right, which is going one swing back further, one swing point further back there. Then, right, what we need is another crossover solver to do that, right? Because remember, this crossover solver is using a swing highs and lows with only two number of swings, right? Looking back, two number of swings there. And we should probably just denote that. I'll just put a number 2 in there. All right, so what I'll do is I'll copy this solver and paste a new one on the board. And we'll go in and adjust the name to 4. Right, oops. Make sure I got the right one selected. Yep, okay. All right, so number 4, so let's go into input B, go into the indicator here, and make sure we have the swing highs and lows selected, and then we can adjust the number of swings to 4, like so, right? We're still using the same plots. Call it good. There. And so now, let's see. So now we need to take those two and combine them together with an OR node, like so, and connect that in. There. And let's see, that's a, yeah, I think this is probably kind of technically, fruitless there, not going to bear any fruit, because remember, the signal has to occur on the first bar that changes direction, which means the RSI is really only going to be crossing the most recent swing low or the most recent swing high, like right here. All right, a single up bar here is, it's going to be crossing the recent swing high, not the swing high of, 2 back, right? Not the swing high going 2 back. So I think that's probably kind of fruitless there, but you never know. Who knows? If you scan far enough through all the charts, maybe you might find an occasion. Actually, look at that. Yeah, I think you're going to end up with this all the time here. So there we go. We can see the RSI crossed that swing high and that one. All right. So maybe you're looking for a double crossover. So in that case, instead of this, let's see here. Let's rebuild this system here. There. So I have all the same solvers on the board here. And so this time the logic is going to be a little different. So we actually want both of these crossovers here. Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, look at this. Swing low, swing low. So we crossed 2 swing lows at the same time, crossed the 2 swing highs at the same time. And did we cross 2 swing highs at the same time? Yeah, I'm not sure why that's showing up. Let's move this back here. Let's see. It should be that one. Yeah, there's that one. Well, that one got removed, right? Look at this. So that one got removed, but this one, Oh, yeah, sorry. So, okay, so right. Here's um, one probably a big difference between the smart breakpoints um, versus the swing highs and lows, right? So let's see here. Let's open. Which one are we looking at here? All right, yeah, we're looking at this one. Let me mark it there. I'll mark it right there, right? So the reason why this long crossover shows up here, right? If I connect this one in, right, long crossover, connect this one up, long crossover. Well, it's because both of these indicators, right? Actually, if we open this up, remember that, right, the swing highs and lows, when it's set to 4, the swing highs and lows is always tracking the highest high and the lowest low of basically kind of like this look back period. It's not actually a look back period, but it acts kind of similar here. So number of swings 4, right? Here's one. All right, this is the most recent swing high. This is the previous swing high. So which one is the highest high? This one's the highest high. So yeah, so that's why the swing highs and lows, set to a number of 4, is giving us a crossover because it moved from this swing high to the higher swing high there. So from that point of view, technically it doesn't quite work in all situations there. Yeah. So yeah. So this isn't quite exactly the same as using that smart breakpoints indicator there. But just to finish it out, but this is how you would build your system here if you were using the if you were using the smart breakpoints indicator. Okay. So you would have one crossover node, that would be, again, I don't know what the plots are in that smart breakpoints indicator, but, or if it even has plots, but you would select, the most recent plots, whatever it says, and then in the other solver here, going back to the indicator, you would select a different set of swing lines there coming from that smart breakpoints indicator. So, yeah. All right. There. All right. So again, I don't think this really does anything helpful here, having this second one. I think really the only thing necessary is just connect that straight in like so. There. Yeah. All right, so I'll just leave it like that. And let's see here, we should give this a name here. There we go. All right, so this is just looking for a price reversal or inflection, really, and an RSI, swing point crossover. So there we go. All right, I'll leave it at that. So let me see if there's any follow-ups, and no, it doesn't look like there's any follow-ups on this. All right, well, gentlemen, possibly ladies and gentlemen, I am ready for the next question. All right, so if anybody has any follow-ups on this or any other questions, go ahead and get those into the Q&A window there for me. And yeah, and I'll do my best to get them answered. Let's see what, let me see what time it is. Well, I didn't think answering that question would take that long, but yeah, we did kind of visit some extra conditions on that question. So yeah, we're at the 45-minute mark here. Yeah, so let's see what yeah, what Paul has here. Let's see, was that? Yeah, that's right. This was Paul's question. So yeah, you bet, Paul. So Paul, actually, I'm curious. Maybe you can, yeah, let me know. Update my information here. Does the smart breakpoints use plot lines that you can, that you can read when you're making a system? Yeah, is the smart breakpoints, are these plots readable plots, or are these drawing objects? Because last I remember, and this is going way back, long time ago, probably, I'm not sure if I ever looked at that indicator for NinjaTrader 8, but I know NinjaTrader 7, it was using, yeah, it was using a drawing line there, so it would be drawing a little line like that, which unfortunately those lines are not readable. So yeah, okay, yeah, Paul's not quite sure. He hasn't dug deep into it yet, but okay. Yeah, with any luck, I think this was one of uh, um, shoot, I just forgot his Rob Mitchell. Yeah, Rob. Yeah, I think this was one of Rob's more popular indicators. So yeah, hopefully by now he might have uh, converted these from drawing lines to plots. Yeah. Yeah, I believe that to be correct there. So Paul's saying, yeah, but the swing highs and lows will still work for what he's trying to do. Yeah, I believe so. I do believe so for the most part. Let's see here. Here we go. This kind of was looking for a zigzagging stepping down here. Yeah, so as it zigzags down, yep, you're always going to have a low point there to cross over, before it zigs up and then crosses down again. Yeah, so I think it should work 100% of the time there. Let's see if we have a bunch of zigzags going up. Yeah, we do, but that guy was on the second one. Yeah, so first bar, yeah, the first bar ended there, and the second bar did the crossing. So there we go. That was filtered out. Let's see. Here we go. Here's a big mess. So this is the a good kind of situation here to test out. So yeah, down, cross, excuse me. Yeah, everything looks correct there. So we had a couple of moves that had actually a 2-bar move. So, but that didn't cross anything. And let's see here, that didn't cross anything. And here we had a 2-bar move, actually a 4-bar move. And so the crossover is on the 2nd bar. Yeah, here it's just tightening up or consolidating. Yeah, so I think it all looks good here. Yeah. So the one thing you're missing there was probably the price inflection. You know, making sure that you have an inflection point there. Now, if you wanted to expand upon this, you know, let's say you wanted to allow for the 2nd bar crossover. So like right here, for example, right? That crossover right there, that's on the 2nd bar, right? Yeah, that's on this 2nd bar here. So if you want to allow that 2nd bar, then this guy is your key, right? This inflection solver is what's limiting the crossovers here, right? So you can see here, right? The bar reverses up, and you only get one signal or one output on that 1st bar, but not the 2nd one or the 3rd one. So if you wanted to change that, let's push this over, go to our inflection solver, and our look back period, if we set it to 2, like so, bingo, now we have the 1st bar and the 2nd bar with a long output. And actually, yeah, right, 1st bar, 2nd bar, 1st bar, 2nd bar. So with the inflection solver, we just had to set the look back period to 2. And that's what, and that would allow a crossover in the first 2 bars there. So that's all that's needed to make that simple adjustment. So I'll knock it back down to 1 there. And all right, so that looks like that does it so far for this question here. All right, so again, gentlemen, I'm waiting for the next round of Bloodhound questions to come in here. So if anybody has anything, let me know. And we are getting a little closer to the 1 hour mark, not quite there yet. Yeah, so I will hang around at least until the top of the hour. Just make sure, you know, everybody's had plenty of time to kind of get their questions in. And if I don't see any more questions by then I guess we'll wrap it up early. Although, let's see here. All right, looks like Doug has a question. So yeah, Doug is asking, what would be the difference between using the inflection solver versus the bar direction? Well, the bar direction just paints the bar direction on every single bar, right? So let's pull this up again here, right? So here's the inflection solver, all right? And it's only marking when the bar, well, I shouldn't say the bar, more specifically, when the closing price reverses direction, right? So basically, we have an up bar and then a down bar. So we got a short, and then an up bar, so a long, and then a down bar, short. But this bar is not reversing direction, it's continuing to go down. So there's no output there. The bar direction just paints on every single bar. It will paint the direction of that bar. So all of these bars here will be marked with a short output, right? They'll all be marked red because they're all down bars. So yeah, so that's the big difference there, and one difference. And the same thing over here, right? So we had a down bar, and then it reversed up. So we got that reversal point identified. And then all these other up bars would be marked green because they're all up bars. Yeah. So really, I'd say probably 99% of the time, the bar direction is used to filter your signals so that the bar direction correlates with the signal direction. So in other words, make sure that you don't get, right, the bar direction is used to make sure you don't get any short signals on an up bar, right? A lot of people say, I only want short signals on a down bar. You know, don't be showing me short signals on an up bar, right? And there's a lot of systems out there, you know, where the indicators, as everybody says in the industry, all indicators are lagging, right? So yeah, so when there is that lag in all the indicators that you're using, it's very easy and quite commonplace to get a short signal on an up bar. So, right, usually it's going to happen on a, smaller up bar, right? In which case that small up move didn't quite reverse your indicator quite yet, right? Your indicator is still working on trying to reverse going up, but it hasn't quite got there yet, and then you get a short signal on an up bar. Yeah, so that's primarily what this bar direction is used for, is eliminating those signals where the signal direction and the bar direction do not match up, right? So it makes sure that they all correlate there. So, and, for this particular setup here with the RSI 2 period, there's no lag with an RSI 2 period. So that's never going to be a problem. Although you should never say never, because let's see here. Well, actually, yeah, that actually might be true for this situation, because I don't think a very short down, this has to occur after a reversal. Yeah, so I think actually it's the inflection, the reversing of price, which probably makes it very 100% consistent that the signal direction and the bar direction will always match up. Yeah. But actually, no, you know what? Yeah, so actually here we go. Here's a good example. So I bet somewhere when you get a long continuous up move or a long continuous down move, at some point that RSI is going to peak out, and if you get a very small up move, the RSI probably will move down at some point. Yeah, once that RSI maxes out, right? Because remember, it only goes up to 100 and goes down to 0. So yeah, so actually, I guess I do stand correct in saying that it is possible to maybe get a signal on an up bar here. Well, actually, no, sorry. Yeah, because of the price inflection, yeah, we won't get a signal. If we get more up bars and that RSI does eventually peak out and then it drops down because of that lack of momentum in price. So, yeah, so in this case, yeah, the bar direction will never be necessary because it does require a reversal in price. So, all right. There. All right. Well, gentlemen, any other questions? Let's see. Yeah, we're still not quite at the top of the hour yet. Seems like we're getting there ever so slower and slower. But all right, yeah, I'll kind of reset the timer here and give everybody about, I don't know, another 10 minutes or so to get some more questions in. All right, and so as long as the questions keep coming in, the workshop will stay open as long as necessary to answer them. All right, but once those questions stop coming in here, that's when that's when it's indicated to me that we're probably done for the day, and that's when I close up shop here. All right, guys, so I will hang around for another 10 minutes or so, waiting for some more questions. And so in the meantime, I'm just gonna mute my microphone here while I'm waiting for the next question to come in. All right, gentlemen, just wanted to give you, like a couple of minute warning here. So I haven't seen any questions in quite some time, but I said I'd hang around for 10 minutes, and so there's about 2 or 3 minutes left here to get your questions in. Otherwise, otherwise we'll wrap it up for today. So, all right, so just to repeat myself again, for anybody who may not have heard me the first time, 8 minutes ago, I'm just waiting on the next round of questions to come in here. And if a couple more minutes go by, then I will just consider us being done for the day, and we'll wrap it up and close it up. Yeah, and call it an end to the workshop. So a couple more minutes, gentlemen. Well, thanks, Doug. Doug's commenting here that he thinks that I'm being creative today. So, yeah, I wouldn't say what I did was a workaround. Um, because I guess two things. As I mentioned, I don't recall the smart breakpoints actually having plots. I think those were drawing lines, so you couldn't use it in a system there. Um, yeah, and yeah, I definitely have used the I have used the swing highs and lows on oscillators many, many times in the past. To answer questions there. So, but good. I just glad to see that. Yeah, you're getting some. You're still, as long as you've been here, Doug. You're still getting some education out of these workshops. So great, great. That's exactly what these workshops are all about. To help, help keep learning, and yeah, and I guess you could say in a way that learn some new creative techniques, so to speak. Yeah. And yeah, definitely. The other comment here is adding the dots. I really hope that maybe someday NinjaTrader. It seems like if I mention, it seems like sometimes um, NinjaTrader listens in on these workshops because it seems like if I mention something enough times, about a year later, they will implement something that I've been wanting. Like for example, the search box. I've been wanting that for a long time. That took them more than a couple of years, but maybe at some point NinjaTrader might. And actually, I used to, back when NinjaTrader had a forum that they actually listened to. I would encourage people, hey, ask NinjaTrader to add this, and maybe at some point NinjaTrader will add a secondary line. Call it, like, I don't know, a line dot plot style, and it would do exactly this. Put a line and a dot. That I would love to see NinjaTrader implement that, and more importantly, default all of their oscillating indicators to that line dot type of plot style there. That would be great. Yeah, I think that would really help a lot of traders. Um, to have this line style. Yeah, this new line style there. That would be cool to see NinjaTrader continue to add little enhancements to the platform. So, you can always hope, right? So, can always hope. Well, all right, gentlemen, it's actually been 12 minutes or so, and I haven't seen any further Bloodhound questions come in here, so I think we're done for the day. So with that, yeah, we did have one interesting question today. So again, I think you guys all know the drill. If you do have questions, you can always email them in. That way you can send in a screenshot like this, which is pretty helpful, when you're marking, arrows there to help illustrate, where exactly you're talking about, trying to, figure out how to implement that charting condition there, and those are always helpful. So excellent. All right, well, tomorrow is the Blackbird workshop. So if you guys have Blackbird questions, I will see you in tomorrow's workshop. Otherwise, it is getting nice and warm out. I gotta say, yesterday was around 70 degrees. It was perfect for hanging out at the park yesterday. And so with the warming weather, if I don't see you guys tomorrow, then enjoy your weekend outside as the weather warms up. And yeah, with that, I'll see you guys next time. All right, bye-bye, gentlemen.